it's Product Management Community Ukraine, and it's a PM night event format. We actually have people here on live event, which are a bit upset that you, Julia, are not with us offline. And it's actually, yeah, the PM night format means that we have obviously speakers from all over the world, speakers from PMF, like Product Management Festival. And we are trying this hybrid format when we have speaker online, some audience online, and some people offline. My colleague is breaking the chair right now. So yeah, it's good to see everyone online and offline. You know, it's our first PM night event since the war was started. And we actually had some doubts if it's a good idea to make event, if people are ready actually for the events in times of war. But now, as we see, we did right. We did good decision because we have lots of registrations, requests for recordings. We have people here offline. Say hi, maybe to our online audience. Yeah, and you know, normally we thank to a speaker at the end of the event, but I would like to thank you, Julia, from the very beginning, because you made this event happen. I would also like to thank to Product Management Festival for their inspiration to be their ambassador and for the promotion support. And I appreciate everyone who is with us online or offline. And special thanks, you know, to our partner, which is the Center for Entrepreneurship of Ukrainian Catholic University, because their space is underground, so it's a bomb shelter these days, and we are safe. We are ready to polish our sketching skills. We are ready to hear your content, Julia, so please step in with the presentation and then the workshop. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone for being here. I'm really happy to see you all online and in the room. And I'm super happy that I can also share my passion with you, which is drawing and product management. So I am actually a product manager. I currently work at Google. And in my free time and also at work, I try to use my drawing skills whenever I can, because I think it's a great tool for fun, but also for work. So I hope at the end of this presentation, you feel, or like this workshop, actually, you feel more comfortable with drawing and you feel more comfortable using it, maybe also in your daily lives, even if you're not a product manager, right? So I think this presentation actually works across functions. I'm going to start with a short presentation to inspire you all on how you could use use drawings in product management, but again, it applies to other functions as well. Then we are actually getting active, so we are going to practice the basics of drawing, and then we are going to visualize a TED Talk. So basically a presentation or like a speech from someone, because I think it's really interesting how it teaches people to actually listen actively and pick out the most important things and then translate them into pictures, which is a skill that you can use in many different collaboration and for problem solving and communication. And I'm going to tell you now a story of Mary, who's a product manager at Chimpanzees, which is a grocery delivery startup. Chimpanzees delivers grocery within 10 minutes from the warehouse to your home, and Mary is the PM. And actually, Mary has to go back to the drawing board because her last product idea actually failed. So her mission is it to balance a great customer experience with a profitable business, so making the business profitable while giving customers a great experience with their grocery deliveries. And for that, she's actually trying to figure out how can she meet these two goals. And for that, she goes through, as a product manager does, through all phases of the product lifecycle. So she starts with the problem, brainstorming solutions, then looking at what potential ideas could be, pitching this to leadership, building a team, and then last but not least, actually building it out. And for this, she uses drawings along the journey. So for example, she uses process charts, mind maps, sketches, actually games for team building, storyboarding, wireframing, and algorithms as well in terms of visualizations. And we are going to accompany her now on this journey and see how she leverages drawing in each of the steps. So the first part is exploring the problem. And together with her team, she actually draws this process chart. Right? This is really how chimpanzees basically works. So there's a customer who orders, then someone from chimpanzees packs the order, delivers it by bike, then the customer receives it, and then chimpanzees delivery guy has to drive back. Now, what they're going to do here as well is they are kind of highlighting the steps of the journey that are taking the most time, and with that, make it very inefficient. And they are trying to brainstorm how they can make this more efficient. So this is a process diagram and something that you might have, like, that's not rocket science, basically, right? But what I oftentimes do myself and see other people doing is that instead of creating a visual like this, we write things down in steps, right? And lists are really for linear thinking, whereas if you actually draw this out, this is for unstructured thinking, which is actually exactly what we need for problem solving. And these visuals that you can add to this make it not only more fun, but they also help you with immediate clarity in the drawing. As the next step, Mary and her team brainstorm together because they have identified these weaknesses in the process. And they're actually going deeper in there, right? So they're now zooming into the receiving step and figuring out, okay, why is this receiving step so painful? It's because people actually have to go up to the 5th floor to deliver the order, or they have to wait until someone opens the door. And the driving back and forth part is so painful because of traffic, of course, or just wait times at the customer, or because drivers are sometimes lazy, right? They are humans after all. So basically, out of the process diagram that helped unstructured thinking, they created a mind map and they built and zoomed into different topics. And that's really something that our brain loves a lot because it allows us to freely jump around and make new connections, which we are really good at. Our brain actually does prefer unstructured thinking to structured thinking. So I think we've all done mind maps, maybe when we were at school, but even now it's a really great idea to structure problems and ideas. Okay. Then afterwards, Mary actually creates a summary of her idea, how she wants to go about solving this problem. And this is the status quo. So you see chimpanzees around here on the left, the delivery warehouse. And then on the right, there is the high-rise building where the order has to be delivered to. And her idea is really to cut out these time-consuming steps with the help of drone delivery. So within 2 minutes, now the order can be delivered from the warehouse to the customer. So this is a solution sketch that Mary has created. And creating this sketch really makes sure that everyone is on the same page, and it can help you to explain your idea in less than 10 seconds, because a picture says 1,000 words. And it doesn't have to look beautiful either, right? So it's really something that you can put on slides or in a document and everyone will get it. Having talked about that, that's exactly what Mary does now as well. So instead of using stock images, she actually uses her hand-drawn images in the pitch to leadership. And she's doing that because hand-drawn, less polished slides invite everyone for more feedback and participation. And it puts everyone in a playful mindset, just like when you watch one of these drawn explainer videos that you might know, right? They are really fun. So similar to that, that kind of feeling is created if you use drawn visualizations in your slides. Plus, of course, you can build up your own brand and your slides will be more memorable. So the good news now is that Mary actually got promised the support for her team to make this a reality. And what's next afterwards? Well, she has to build a team to make this happen. And also for that, she uses drawings. So there's a couple of great games to get teams into the drawing mindset or just to build a team. For example, Scribble.io is one in which everyone gets a prompt and then one person gets a prompt, has to draw something and everyone else guesses. And the person who guesses first won. And then this one is another one as well. It's called Gartic Phone. And it's a game, basically the telephone game, just mixed with drawings and text. So first you see like someone comes up with a sentence, the next person is drawing it, then the person after is describing the drawing, and the person after has to describe it again. So this is actually something that I did with my team, and this is the result that you're seeing here. So why is Mary doing this? Why is Mary using drawings for team building? Well, first of all, it's fun, of course, but it also does make people comfortable with drawing, also digital drawings especially. And on top of that, it warms up certain regions in the brain, and of course also the hands that you will need for any kind of drawing exercise. Which is very helpful for the next thing that Mary is doing, which is running a team vision workshop. And she's asking the team to imagine where they will be in 5 years. And instead of writing it down in Post-its, she asks everyone to draw it out. And here's what the team came up with. So on the left, you can see a TechCrunch article talking about chimpanzees now also delivering Amazon orders. And on the right, you can see that the drones also deliver hamburgers, for example. So instead of chimpanzees just delivering groceries, the vision goes really in the direction of being more a drone delivery platform. The vision exercise, the visual vision exercise, is a really great exercise because it makes it more likely to achieve that vision that the team actually came up with. Because every team member has to imagine in detail what the situation should be like in 5 years. And our brain, again, is funny here because our brains cannot distinguish reality from imagination. And that's why it makes it more likely to achieve the mission, or the vision in this case. Okay, so now that everyone is aligned and the team works well together, we of course have to build the MVP, we have to build the product. And for that, we really have to figure out, what do the customers need? And for that, Mary and the team draw out a storyboard. So on the left, you can see the customer who's a little unhappy because some ingredients are missing. Then he pulls out his phone, orders whatever is missing on chimpanzees. 5 minutes later only, the drone knocks on the window and the customer opens the window, takes the food and is very happy and can eat now the meal. So the storyboard helps to really put yourself into the shoes of the customer, and also not only think about what does the customer need, but also what is the context the customer is in. So in this case, the customer is at home, there's a window that he or she can open. It creates empathy because certain brain areas are activated. Our brain really, really loves stories, no matter what, right? So that's a really fascinating thing that you can kind of wake up when you create a storyboard, and also to explain how the experience looks like. It's a very, very useful tool. Now, there's one thing that's a little challenging about the kind of the storyboard or the customer experience in this case, which is how would the drone actually know where to go, right? Because which window is the right one? And for that, Mary does a brainstorming exercise with her team called the Crazy Eights. And the Crazy Eights is an exercise in which every team member has to come up with 8 ideas for a problem in 8 minutes. So here's an example of something that someone came up with. It is instead of just kind of like putting in the delivery address, the customer actually also has to figure out on a 3D map which window the food should be delivered to. I don't know if that's going to work, but I wanted to highlight here the wireframing part of things. So wireframing in a team setting allows everyone to participate in problem solving. It leads to more ideas from the team. And with that, it could also create more innovation because more ideas are always better, right? The nice thing as well about wireframes in general is that they really look unpolished and they basically scream, I can change. So with that, people are much, much more open to give feedback to wireframes than to polished designs that maybe a designer would put together. Yeah, and last but not least, it's about creating an algorithm, right? Because they have to, we said, balance customer experience with making the business profitable. And for that, the team has to figure out how many drones would we actually need to deliver the orders that we have to come that are coming in. An algorithm is something that, of course, sounds a little scary sometimes for people. It sounds like an engineer's problem in a way, but actually it's not. So what Mary does here is she's actually drawing out the warehouses that they are in the city, the delivery radius that the bikes today have, then the drones and the new kind of reach that the drones have. They are thinking about how many orders are actually coming in from the customers and how many trips can be done per hour from a warehouse. And then together as a team, they actually brainstorm which other factors might be important to figure out how many drones we would need. Things like weather, things like maybe we run a promotion, things like competition as well came up in that discussion. So algorithms can be visualized, right? And visuals are like a common language. And with that, super inclusive for everyone in a room. They can simplify complex things, and they contribute everyone to, they invite everyone to contribute. And with that, we know that multidisciplinary teams, so teams with different kinds of people, have more ideas, right? And that's really what you can unleash when you use drawings and even complex things like algorithms. So 5 years later, the vision became a reality. And Chimpanzees is now delivering not only groceries, but also Amazon orders and all kinds of other things. So in summary, how can drawing help you as a product manager? We heard that it helps you to work with cross-functional teams because it is like a common language. It helps you to solve problems because it gets you into this unstructured thinking mode. It encourages feedback and iteration. It improves communication, right? Because a picture says 1,000 words. It builds your brand because no one draws like you, or no one draws at all. And it makes fun. It makes work more fun. And with that, I hope you don't say, I can't draw as a reaction to this, because we are going, and if you say that, that's not a problem because we are actually going to practice this right now. So you can also use more drawings in your work. And with that, that's the end of the first part. And we could take some questions if there are any, and if not, or afterwards, I'll then go into the interactive part. I can't hear you if you're saying something.
I think everyone is waiting for the workshop.
Can you say again?
No, the chat, no questions. People write in the chat, no questions for now, I guess.
Perfect. Right. Then I'm going to switch to another screen. Let me see. My iPad went into sleeping mode, of course. So that's why I have to unshare again, because I'm actually going to share my iPad screen now. Give me 1 second. It doesn't show up right now. Okay, should have kept the iPad awake. All right, now I can share again, and then it should show up. Right, there we go. Okay, sorry for the delay. Yeah, so now I'm on my iPad, and what we are going to do is, first of all, we are going to learn how to draw some basics, like basic shapes, humans, and things. And then in the second step, once we've learned all that, we are going to use what we've learned and apply it to visualizing a TED Talk. So I'm going to show you a TED Talk. I'm going to pause it while we watch it, and then we try to visualize the most important things together. So with that, let's jump into the first part. So what you need is pen and paper. Oftentimes I get the question what I use. I use the iPad Pro together with a Procreate and an iPad Pen. I think there's also tons of other good solutions out there for digital drawing. This is just what I use and prefer. But pen and paper is just fine as well. And sometimes it's even better to get started for that physical feeling, really. Okay, so the first thing that might seem very, very basic, that's shapes, right? And the most basic shapes are a circle, a line, a rectangle, a triangle, and what I call a blurb. And as you can see on the right, you can draw everything, really everything with these shapes. So if you are comfortable drawing these and you can draw them well, then you can draw anything. So let's actually, even though it sounds basic, let's practice this together. So let's draw a circle, a line, a triangle, a rectangle, and a blurb. And let's do some of these in different sizes, right? So, and as you can see, sometimes my hand is also shaking a little bit, right? So it's really a matter of practicing to do this and feel good about it. And actually not doing things like this, what I did here. Right, some more rectangles, smaller ones. This is also something that you can do while you're in a call or something, right? So really to practice, yeah, the eye-hand coordination a little bit. So you can use it in your drawings then later. Okay, I hope everyone has done that, because that's the baseline for everything else that's following. So oftentimes you want to highlight headings, for example, right? It could be on a whiteboard, or it could be when you actually do a sketch note. And sometimes people ask me, oh, how do I actually make sure that that text fits into the box, right? And the trick here is that it is actually the other way around. So you write the text first, whatever the heading is, and then you put the box around it, like this, right? Or again, heading, and then you can put a cloud around it, right? And this way you can highlight certain things in a drawing or on a whiteboard. A lot of people ask me how to do this fancy thing here, and that one is actually really easy. I'm going to show you. So you can reuse this one that we have created earlier with the box. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put one line here, then a little longer one here. And you're going to do the same thing on the right side. Then we are putting half a triangle, what we've already learned, on each of the sides. We are going to close here. And then combine these two edges here on both sides. And there you go. There you have your 3D looking heading. And you can also put some stripes here to make it look even more 3D. So it's really simple, actually. Okay. Moving on. Arrows is something that I also use a lot, of course, for showing connection or showing a process. Also, that is not rocket science, but let's still practice it because it comes up a lot. So it's actually like the easiest one is actually straight line and then just putting half a triangle, right? But then there's also a straight line and putting a real triangle there. Then you can have also the curved line arrows, right? So that is worth practicing. Or even the ones that look a little more fun, like this, right? Doing a little special thing in here. And then, of course, we can also combine what we've learned earlier about the headings. So we could put some text to make it 3D, put half a box around it, so don't close it. And then you make the lines go up and down, and then you finish with a half a triangle again. And this way you actually have an arrow that maybe says something, and the text always fits in there, right? Or, I mean, the same thing you could also do, of course, without the text. Okay, so that's that. before we do this, one thing that I noticed last time when I did this, I forgot to talk about speech bubbles. Speech bubbles is something that actually also is used quite a bit. And we're going to put this here as well, speech bubble. Or actually also thought bubbles, right? So a speech bubble is basically like a shape like this, which is a circle at the end of the day, plus a triangle. But of course, we don't want to have this line here, right? So what you do in this case is whenever you try draw your ellipse, you don't close it fully, and then you put your triangle. And same thing does actually apply, of course, to rectangle shaped speech bubbles. For example, like this, right? So I draw a rectangle, and then I draw the little triangle there again. And either, again, here, same thing, right? First write the text, then draw the box around it. That always works better. And thought bubbles, I think I don't need to say much, but it's basically a cloud plus smaller clouds. So that comes in handy for all kinds of situations, actually, especially when it is about humans. And now we're going to draw humans. There's different kinds of humans that you can draw. The stick figure humans are maybe the ones that are used most. Then there's shape-based humans. And then there's also something like the star, kind of the star technique. I like the stick figure humans because you can basically build everything on top. So let's practice this. So one thing to note about humans is, like drawing humans, not real humans, of course, is that the head is kind of like 1/4 of the human. Then we have half of the human is the body, and and then 1/4 again is the legs, roughly, right? So let's draw some humans. The head is just a circle. Then you have a line, 2 lines, and then we can just put the arms. When I draw female humans, I put a triangle here, right? And then put the legs like this. And again, put the arms. And what you see here is these are really just basic shapes, right? So everyone can draw these, but you can do a lot of cool stuff with them, right? Like putting a speech bubble here, for example, right? And tell the story. Yeah. Now we are going to use these humans. And we are adding some emotions to these humans, all with just stick figures. So the first one is a normal human. We already did that, right? It's just what we did before, like this. Now, how would a happy human look like? What do you think? What is the emotion happy humans do? They raise their hands. Yeah, they also make happy sounds, hopefully, but they raise their hands, right? So that's how you draw a more happy human. Then what do proud humans do? Stand up straight, and then my table is too high, but they might be very open with their posture, right? So it could actually look like this. So this is a half triangle again here, right? This part here, these are just half triangles again. But you can already kind of see that it changes the body language of the stick figure, which is quite fascinating, actually. Cool. So what do thinking humans do? They put their hand on the head. So here again, it's similar. It's basically an open triangle that we are drawing like this, right? So again, triangle shape. And then you can put the other arm somewhere else. Desperate humans, very similar. Putting both hands on the head. So for that, oopsala, this one is a little different. Just put again the 2 hands to the head and start at the head, because otherwise you might miss the head. Happens to me all the time, I forget that. Right? So start there and then connect to the body. Because arms are actually like there's one joint in the arm, right? That's what we use. That's what we take advantage of. Okay, a human that shows something is again the body, the legs, and then one extended arm. We put a little dot on the arm, which is the hand, right, like this. And then you can do whatever you want with the other one. Then next up are sad humans. And sad humans, they have usually low shoulders and they're very small and they have their arms hanging. So in this case, you just put the arms really close to the body and let them hang. And then there's two different kinds of sitting humans. So one human, I asked this last time, what's the word, the right word? Maybe you can tell me. So it's again the body, then it's something like this. I'll do it again. It's like this kind of shape. And then you can put the arms again. I don't know what this is called, cross-legged position or something like that. There's a German word for it, but I don't know the English one. Do you know, Svetlana?
Like a, for me, it looks like a yoga pose, but my colleague says it's like a butterfly.
Butterfly, yeah.
Butterfly pose.
In German, it would be Schneidersitz, which is actually a position that I like a lot for sitting on the floor, especially.
Lotus pose. Oh, we have it.
That works too. Yeah. And then there's another sitting position. And this is the first time we do something else with the body. So instead of putting it like straight down here, we actually put it a little bit to the side. Then we do a triangle again. And we put the arms somewhere. So this is then a sitting person from the side a little bit. And all just with, stick figures. And you could always, like, when you don't like stick figures, you can always put stuff on the stick figure, right? So you could put actually something like that on there. Or what I like to do a lot, instead of drawing the line, I actually draw something like this. You will see, I do that automatically, I think later today. So to make them look a little more different, or you could even put like t-shirts on them then, right? Like this, and a little hands. So this is really kind of to learn how to make human drawings move, and then you can build on top of that as you go. Okay, so we did that. And then we are going into faces, because like all these humans that we were just drawing, they didn't have any faces. So for that exercise, we are going to kind of fill out this grid. So for that, everyone has to draw 9 circles. So we are practicing circles again. And then we are going to fill out that grid with different emotions of like human faces. So I give you a minute to create that grid. Take a sip of water. Exactly. And then what we're going to do is we are going to always kind of combine the eyebrows. So this is actually, no, I don't want to erase. I'm gonna draw. So this is the eyebrows. And on the left, we have the mouth, kind of the mouth versions. And now we're just putting the eyes kind of everywhere, and we are combining mouth and eyebrows. So this one doesn't have any eyebrows. Then the next one is this one, which already shows a different expression, right? I don't, again, know how to describe it, but it is different from the one before. Then the next one is also very fascinating, which is now kind of a mean person, like someone who, I don't know, I don't want to work with for sure. Then this is kind of the neutral, meh kind of thing. And here we have someone who, well, is also not that happy. this one again is kind of a little, again, I don't know the German word. I'm missing some words today. Someone who is not friendly, but maybe really wants to achieve something. I don't know. Then here we have unhappy, of course. Here we have someone who's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, we have someone who's really angry. So
I am in the mornings. Me
exactly.
in the mornings.
Exactly like that, yeah. So I always find it really fascinating how especially the eyebrows change what kind of message face or like an emotion that can be expressed with the eyebrows. And I need to work on my descriptions of the facial expressions too. There's, I think, 2 or 3 more that I like to use. One is again a circle. Then you have the eyes, and then the dot. Or like, no, that's not a dot. It's a circle, a smaller circle, which shows kind of surprise. And then we have someone with a big smile. And that is a line in the middle, and then half a circle, and then again the eyes. So it's just a bigger kind of smile. Oh, and one more comes to my mind. Just kind of a frowning one, which is again, my hand is shaking. Eyes, and then like a line like this, which can show kind of like, I don't like that. Yeah. Everyone got it? Cool. All right, so then, of course, all these smileys look kind of the same, right? So what if we want to show different kinds of people? And that's when I actually use this one here. That's how we can put something on their head to make them look different. So the simplest version of that is, of course, just putting some lines and give them some hair. Then you can do the same thing just with a line like this, which already is 2 different people. Then you can add long hair, of course, as well. So I usually start kind of from the middle here and then draw to the sides like this. Evil lady. Then, of course, the same thing works also with these lines, right? So just around the head, put some of these lines here. Of course, you can also do something like this, which is maybe a younger person. Then if you want to draw a child, I like to do this. So I put 2 circles, left and right. And then I make 2 lines go out of these circles, and I close this with a zigzag. This is now a younger child that has a nice braids on their head. What else? There's basically, you can do all kinds of things, right? You can put people, like put a head on people. These heads can look differently. Someone here's a party head. So there's no limit, basically, what you can do to make humans look differently or even convey different messages. Awesome. So now the only thing that is actually missing is, well, these humans don't have a body right now, right? Or like these like close upfront visualizations of humans. So how are we going to add the body to the human? And there's different ways of doing that. I personally like the one, and it's like the one that I'm going to show you. And it is really, again, only lines that you need to do. So you do 2 lines from the head down. Then you do half a circle. Not half a circle, it's like maybe a quarter of a circle, something like that. Again, 2 lines down. And then kind of curved lines here and here. Didn't do this well now, but let me do it again. Right, so 2 lines, a little bit of a circle, curved line, 2 lines down, and then curved lines left and right. And this is where you have a body. Other ways of doing that, which are faster, is if you have your head, just doing this. And if you want, you can add kind of 2 lines to it. So you have the body and the arms. That works as well. Faster. And I use always this if I want to draw like the small versions of bodies, but if I use the big ones, then I use this because then I can even put things like this on the shirt. Cool. So we did that. Then there is charts, and charts mostly consist of shapes as well. So there's the pie chart, the bar chart, something like every third or every second or every fifth. So for that, you can always draw the things and then like make a circle around one. And then there is the line chart as well. So let's practice these just so that you're familiar with it. So there is the pie chart, and for the pie chart, we are going to have again a circle. See, so circles you need actually a lot. And now in order to mark kind of the percentage that you want to use, you put a little dot in the middle of the circle. So you get that right. And then you can easily, oops, see, didn't help. You can actually easily mark the number or the percentage that you want to show, right? So this is like 50%. For that, you don't need the dot. But for the 25%, it's easier to do it this way, for example. The bar chart is drawing 2 times arrows to the left and to the right. I have drawing assistance here, as you can see, and then just draw some boxes on it, depending on which trend you want to show. This one we talked about, and then the same thing for the line chart actually. Line chart again is 2 axes. And then you can make it go up, like make a curved line go up for something that is growing. But of course, you could also do a zigzag line that's actually making things go down, depending on what you want to communicate. So yeah, all basic shapes again. And then, of course, there's a ton of useful things that we might need, and I'm not going to teach you all of them, but it's really easy to learn how to draw things because you can actually just Google them. Then you find something that's really easy to draw. For example, in this example, I used strategy. Then I found this sign. And then you can, again, draw the sign with basic shapes, right? Which was a rectangle here, then open triangle kind of, no, open rectangle, and then triangles here on the sides. If you want to have it even easier, you can also always Google things like strategy icon or innovation icon, and you will find a lot of designers who already figured out how to draw these things in an icon way, which is usually something that's really simple to draw. But for now, we are going to draw some of the things that might be useful, especially in tech jobs, but maybe also, I mean, everything goes more digital, right? So I think that it's quite useful to be able to draw these things in general. So now we are going to draw these things together. The first one is a phone. And the phone, again, is just boxes. So the phone is a box that I didn't do well, then a smaller box in there. And I put a dot here. I don't know how long I can still do that because these phones are kind of dying, but I'll try as long as I can. The next one is a laptop. And laptop again is a box. Then you put another box in there. And now it's getting a little more difficult. So you have to follow me. So we put a line on the one corner, parallel one here. Then we are going to connect these lines to each other. Then we are putting a rectangle here. It's a very thick laptop. And we are going to put here like a line down here and again connect these two. And now we have kind of the 3D version of an open laptop. And then we can just put like some quick drawn lines here in order to show the keyboard. Everyone got this? Okay. Next up is the TV. TV is very similar. It's a box and inside another box. And then I put a triangle stand on it. And then you got your TV and you could put it on a table or something, whatever. Then what I also need a lot, or some from time to time, is a database. And for that, it's kind of an ellipse or like a circle, then a line left, a line right. And now you close it out here with kind of the same shape you had here, right? So like a half circle, you try to make it as similar as possible. And with that, you have this kind of 3D feeling again. Okay, now light bulb. Light bulb is a little more complicated, but again, only basic shapes. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a circle. Then we put a rectangle. Then we put half a circle on the bottom. We put some lines here. Then 2 lines up. And we are connecting with a zigzag. And there we have the basic version of a light bulb. And we can make it go on as well, like this. I oftentimes use light bulbs for innovation or ideas, stuff like that. Okay, the sign we already saw before, right? I use that for strategy oftentimes. It's like an open triangle, then rectangle, not triangle. I keep confusing these two. It's a rectangle. Rectangle, rectangle left, rectangle right, closing it out with triangles. And then what I do is I use the zigzag line to show grass, for example. Okay. Then next one is a magnifying glass. That is, for example, interesting to show focus on something, or if you want to investigate something. And for that, we have a circle and then another circle, rectangle, and line. And to really show that this is a magnifying glass, we can put a little curved line in it, which kind of symbolizes that this is glass in there. Okay, now we are going to use more challenging lines for money. And for that, we have to draw a line like this. It's basically like an S a little bit, just the wrong way. And a parallel one, same shape again, like we did here, right? Like make sure they're the same, connecting. And then I could put any kind of like currency here. Oftentimes I use dollar to kind of show this, right? So it's like this, oops. And there you have the money. Okay, 4 more to go. The book, oftentimes used for education, for example, is now, surprise, 3 parallel lines. So we do 3 parallel lines. Then we do curved lines on top. On the bottom, the same thing. Now we have half a circle here. And now we are kind of drawing lines in parallel to the ones that we have already drawn, left, right, connecting with the half circle and closing it out then on the top. So now we have an open book, and if we want, we can even add some stuff in it. Okay. Spaceship. Actually, it's not a spaceship, it's a rocket. I think, I don't know. So it's again a rectangle, then a triangle on top. Here then kind of the end of a triangle, like this. Triangle left, triangle right, and then I put a window in it. I don't know if it's a rocket or a spaceship, a mixture, I think. And to show that it's actually flying, you can put just some lines here. And if it's taking off, you actually add some cloud shapes there. I oftentimes use this version, for example, to show growth or going to the moon. Okay, it's like going somewhere big, right? And then I put stars here, for example, I put the moon next to it. Then there's the pen. Pen is a really easy thing to do. It's a rectangle with a triangle, and then just the tip of the pencil. And you can put some line there to really make sure that you just see that, like people see that that's a pen. And then last but not least, we have the house. Everyone can draw a house. It's a rectangle, triangle, and more rectangles. This is what we already learned in kindergarten. And with that, you've learned a lot of things, and everything that you haven't learned yet, you could also, look up with a technique that I mentioned earlier. And I think now you're all ready to watch a TED Talk with me and draw what the person is saying in the TED Talk. Are there any questions in between? If not, it's actually really like what we're going to do is, so I'm going to, like we are prepping for a minute, then I'm going to play parts of the TED Talk and you're going to listen, figuring out what should I be drawing and how can I draw it? And then I pause and we kind of draw this together. And we do that 3-4 times. So this is how the structure usually of not just this talk, TED Talk, but many TED Talks or many presentations in general, how that looks like. So first there is some blah, blah, which is kind of the intro, the personal experience, something like that. And then usually the speaker talks about the structure because the speaker wants people to be able to follow, right? So this is where we need to pay special attention because it will help us kind of navigate the drawing that we are creating. Then there's the main part. And then at the end, there's oftentimes a recap or a powerful quote or something like that. When you think about structuring something, there's different ways of doing that. So if you have a piece of paper with you, for example, it is kind of putting kind of lines in the piece of paper, kind of cutting it into 4, for example, like this one here, or in half, or even combining like this structure together, for example, with the mind map like thing, or the steps 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I usually do is I try to think in advance what kind of structure I could use. And of course, it doesn't always work, but often it does. And here's actually the structure that we are going to use for this TED Talk. So what you will need, and there's either you draw kind of these lines that you see here to help yourself, or you kind of keep that in mind as we go, and you will see them on the slides as well. So we will look at the TED Talk. First, we will draw a fact. Then we have kind of something that has 5 things. Then there's something that is really important. And at the end, there's something like a conversation. So we are going to draw using this structure. So what you might want to do, either actually on paper or on your heads, is kind of having here 1/3 and there 2/3 and putting the line there. Then there is a half and a half on the left side, 2/3 and 1/3 on the right side, roughly. And the first thing that we are going to do now is we put the heading on top. And the heading of the TED Talk is how to know your life purpose in 5 minutes. How to know, I hope it's the right title. Let's just call it how to know your life purpose. And when I put a heading for a sketch note, but also when I'm on a whiteboard, for example, whenever I put a heading, I think about what do I think about when I hear that heading. So in this case, with life purpose, for example, I think of nature, for example, or something that's beautiful, right? So what when I heard this the first time, I was putting kind of a cloud around the heading, not a box, as we learned earlier. And then I thought, oh yeah, life purpose is actually about humans too, right? So I put a human next to it, someone that's actually thinking. I thought about nature, so I put the grass on the ground. Oops. And I put a sun here. And I used this part as a heading. But of course, you can also do anything else. And with that, we are actually going to go into the first part, which is going right here. So please listen and see what is important and what you think you would like to draw for this. No, it's the wrong one. Here we go. Can you see the presentation? Oh no, not yet. Okay, never mind. One sec. Bring your shared window to the front. Interesting. One sec. You cannot see the window, right? Technology. I'll share again.
With the audio.
Yeah, share with audio, of course. Here we go. Let's try. Okay, now you can see it.
Yeah.
On the last evening of my 25th college reunion, there was a party in its event.
There was dancing and music and noise. So much noise that a lot of us started to drift out of the tent so we could hear each other talk and catch up with classmates that we had not seen in more than 2 decades. As I talked with my friends, I made an astounding discovery. 80% of them were unhappy with their lives. I feel as though I've wasted my life and I'm halfway through it, they said. I don't know what my life is all about.
I was privileged to go to Yale.
And we were standing on a summer evening in the middle of Yale's old campus. And the people that I was speaking with were privileged and highly educated and financially well off and in positions of power. And they had the first house and the second house. And they had the first spouse and the second spouse. And 80% of them were unhappy with their lives. Who was happy, the 20%? Well, we had studied literature and Renaissance rhetoric, and we were the theater people and the history geeks. We had studied classes for the joy of learning, not because we thought they were going to direct us to a specific job. We still got jobs. We were living our lives expansively with life's ups and downs, and we did not feel that we had wasted a single minute.
Julia, you're muted.
Thank you. Yep. So that was the first part. We are going to draw something now. So what do you think was worth drawing? Oh, here we go, actually. I was too ready. What did you catch? What do you think is worth drawing in the first blah section, so to say?
I encourage someone to unmute, and say some words. As I see in chat, Ada Kermekcheva, 80 and 20.
Right, 80 and 20. All right, so for that, we learned how to do that. It's a pie chart. So we put a pie chart. Clicking again. Then we put the dot in the middle. So we make sure we do this right with the pie chart. And we do like this is 25%, right? So it's like this. So this is 20%. And then I like to actually write it down as well. So it's 20% and 80%. And I put like little lines there. And then we learned also how to draw happy and unhappy, right? So the 20%, right, we're actually happy. And the 80%, we're unhappy. And it's always helpful to also write it down because our brain actually kind of likes images combined with text. And And what we also heard is that they were unhappy despite having a house. We learned how to draw that. Money, right? We learned how to draw that. And families. And a smaller person here. So you could write despite in here. And that was the first thing that he mentioned. And now let's go back to the talk to see what's next. And what's next is actually what goes into the next section of the drawing that we have. I'm going to switch again.
And as I spoke with the 20%, the happier 20%, I discovered that each of them knew something about their life purpose because they knew 5 things: who they were, what they did, who they did it for, what those people wanted or needed, and what they got out of it, how they changed.
We're a little unlucky today. My internet connection.
As a result. Does that sound hard? It's not. It's actually really simple. In fact, it's so simple that you can learn your life purpose now. You're going to know your life purpose now in the next 5 minutes. Would you like to know your life purpose in the next 5 minutes? Can you be a little bit louder, because they're making a lot of noise in the tent and there's just this silly little microphone next to my cheek to hear you. Would you like to know your life purpose in the next 5 minutes? Yes! Thank you. Actually, it's not even going to take 5 minutes. So can I share something else with you? If you're like a lot of us, you have wondered and worried about your life purpose for a long time. And there are books and magazines and workshops and seminars about it. In fact, Amazon lists 151,928 books that refer to how you can learn your life purpose. Well, I know some people who have spent their entire lives trying to learn their life purpose. And look, we can all agree that the unexamined life is not worth living. But if all you're doing is examining, you're not living. So let's figure out the life purpose right now together. Who you are, what you do, who you do it for, what those people want and need, and how they change as a result. Shall we do it? Yes. All right. Everybody, on the count of 5, shout out your first name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brian. Fabulous. That was the first one, only 4 to go. That's who you are. All right, now what do you do? What do you love to do? You love to write, cook, design, create iOS apps, write code, crunch numbers, talk, teach. What do you love to do? And if there's a lot of things that come up for you, focus it down by asking yourself this one question. What is the one thing that right now you feel supremely qualified to teach other people? Think about that in one word. Hold it, don't release it yet. On the count of 5, what do you do? 1, 2, 3, 4. Great, that's what you do. Now, think about who you do it for. Picture them in your mind. Be ready to say it on the count of 5. Hold it, don't release it yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, who do you do it for? Let's see it one more loud, little bit louder, please. Over the people in the tent. Who do you do it for? Together? Thank you. That is the spirit that we need. Okay, now, what do those people want or need? What do they want or need that they've come to you so you can give them this thing? What do they want or need? In just 1 or 2 words, hold it, don't release it yet. And on the count of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantastic. Now, this is the best one. How do they change? How do they change or transform as a result of what you give them? On the count of 5, how do they change or transform as a result of what you give them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Terrific. Now, we're going to put this all.
Right, now we're going to switch back to everyone capture the 5 things? It was who you are, what you do, who you do it for, what they need, and how they change. These were the 5 things. And whenever there's a lot of important things, what I try to do is I try to write them down first, and then I'm kind of adding stuff or like drawings to it. So for example, for who you are, it is about a person, right? And we already know how to draw a person. So I would put, for example, a person next to it. And then we also learn how to draw a speech bubble, right? Now this is a little, now I can put a speech bubble here around it, leaving this open and then adding the triangle, which is now a little bit curved triangle. Then the second one is, what do you do? Right, and also that is about humans. So what I would do here is, now you can see my usual way of drawing humans, like a person standing there and maybe showing something, like teaching, for example. Right, and I just put a box around it. I like the aspect that he said about what are you qualified to teach, right? So I took a note of it, and I would write something around it as well. So who do you do it for, right? And this is about an audience, so multiple people. And we learned how to draw that too, right? So we learned about this kind of like showing people, right? The quick way of drawing close-up humans. And I would put a count around it, for example. Then what do they need? So what do they need? That's hard to draw, I have to say. I just put like a little heart because what they need will make them happy, and put a circle around it. And then how do they change? So there's different ways of showing change. I thought of making someone stronger, for example. So for that, I draw again a stick figure. And then I draw the arms in kind of an L shape here and put little muscles on top of the arms, right? In this way, this person now is strong. And we can put kind of a shape like this around it, which we haven't practiced yet. To make it scream, kind of. And then we had practiced the arrows, right? So it's kind of the 5 things that flow in an order. So we put them in between. Okay, and with that, we are up for the next section.
All together, kind of in a sentence, okay? Everyone together. Or what do they?
You can skip that.
So powerful because of all those 5 things that you need to know what your life purpose is. Only 2 are about yourself. The others, 3 of them, are about other people, who they are, what they want or need, and how they change as a result. That formulation forces you to be outward facing. And all the happier people that I met outside the tent on that warm New Haven night, they were outward facing, they were not inward facing. They knew very clearly whom they served, what those people needed, and how those people changed as a result. And you may have intuited this already, that the most successful people in any field always focus most on the people that they serve than on how they are served themselves. Happier people make it a point to make other people happy and do things that make them feel well taken care of and secure. If you make other people happy.
All right, that's the main thing that he was drawing in this case. Any ideas? What was the quote? So what I kind of captured is that happier people make other people happy. So that's what I wrote down. And then how to draw that or how to make that visual, right? Other people happy. We know how to draw happy people. And that is really a human. and another human. And they have these happy kind of faces, right? One of them is like this, maybe one of them is like this, with the eyes. And then we can make them look different again. We learned that too, right? One has, for example, these hair, and the other one has maybe long curly hair. And we put an arrow in between because one makes the other happy. And we can put a box around it or whatever you like. Yeah, and now we go into the last part. Going to switch over again.
Happy life teaches us we will be taken care of too. So since you all did so well, we have time for just a little bit of extra credit. One of the most difficult things that happens when you meet people for the first time is they ask you this question. So what do you do? And if you're like some of us, that's a really challenging question sometimes, particularly if you're in these moments where you're between things, or you're feeling vulnerable, or it isn't defined, or what you seem to do isn't what you really do, or what you're paid to do isn't how you define yourself. So when people ask you this question, so what do you do? And also you got this monologue going on, like, why is he asking me, so what do I do? It's because it's that transactional thing where it's like he wants to know if he should really spend time talking to me, or it's that other thing so he can tell me what he does because he's sure it's, oh, really so much better than what I do, right? So when somebody asks you that question, here's what you do. You just say the very last thing you called out, how what you do changes the people you do it for. So for example, you might say, I give kids awesome dreams. If your life purpose is, I write books for children so they can fall asleep at night, so they can have awesome dreams. Or you might say, I help people look and feel their best. If your life purpose is, I design apparel for men and women who need affordable choices so they can look and feel their best. Or you might say, I help people get great work into the world. If your life purpose is, I train entrepreneurs and creative people to take decisive actions so they can get their greatest work into the world. And then that little snippet that you just said becomes your personal elevator pitch. And it will always start the conversation because the person that you were just talking to has to ask you a question. How do you give kids great dreams? How do you help people look and feel their best? Can people really get their greatest work into the world? And then you get to tell them, and you get to share your life purpose. And you get to share how they may come to learn theirs too.
Hey, the last part was actually a conversation that.
It was 2:45 p.m.
Oh,
on a rainy Friday in Los Angeles.
Pausing YouTube.
My dad was just brewing a cup of coffee in the kitchen.
We didn't want to watch another TED Talk. I actually watched a lot of them to find one that we can draw together. So I'm a little tired of TED Talks now. So the last thing that we are actually drawing is a conversation. And I'm going to switch for that again to the drawing thing. So we practiced that earlier again, right? So what I captured as a conversation is, so what do you do? And I just wrote down I inspire people. I could have also selected the I give kids awesome dreams example. So it doesn't really matter. And then we do draw again to humans, right? So we put one here. Well, this is now my way of drawing humans again. And this person is someone who's like very, very proud, or maybe seems to be more important or feels very important, right? So I would give them this kind of posture. And then I put again what we practiced, the speech bubble, around it. I'm getting a little tired as well. And then the other person is actually going to answer something. And it's very happy, right? Actually raising up the hands and saying, I inspire people. So here I draw this each bubble around it. And then I just put them, because this is a conversation, on the same ground. So I use my lines again to create kind of, and I missed it, now I have to make a hill to combine the two. And with that, I kind of have the last part of this, which goes in the corner here. And then you should have something like this. So this is how maybe your drawing, or hopefully your drawing, looks like right now. So we started with the fact, then we had the 5 things, then we had the quote, and then at the end we had the conversation that we just drew. And then what I usually do as the next step is I try to kind of guide whoever's looking at that, also myself, by adding some things to the drawing. So for example, what I would do here is kind of putting some shape around this to make sure, hey, this is actually one section. Or I could also combine, kind of make more arrows, for example, things like that. So I try to visually guide people through the drawing that I've made. So you can see how this looked like. So another example here is how to combine kind of the heading with then the rest of the drawing, right? Because what I did here is, this was kind of the heading that we had. And then I made this go into the 5 things. And then one interesting aspect I also wanted to capture was that actually this thing here is what you say here, right? So it's a very nice kind of bridge between the different kind of sections in the talk that we saw. And then if you, especially if you draw digitally, but also on paper, you can always add colors as well. So this is, for example, how you could do that. So this is just 3 different colors, using yellow for some kind of highlights, then using green for kind of the background, and then putting a sky around this as well. So you might wonder, okay, well, I would have never done this way. I actually did it in a similar way when I drew this the first time. So this is what I came up with back then. But of course, it takes a little bit of practice, right? To kind of see how things can go together and how you can tell a visual story as well. But already the smaller aspects of things, right? Like the pie chart, or drawing kind of the little icons here with the house and like this part here, or just like adding some smileys left and right, or someone with a speech bubble. It's already something that can make whiteboards or your notes more fun and more engaging as well. Yeah, I'm happy that I could share my passion with you. And I hope really that there was something in it that helps you in, in your jobs, in your free time. Maybe you draw again for fun as well, which I like doing a lot as well. We have 10 more minutes. We can either go through questions. I can let you go as well, for especially the people in person, to maybe connect and network. Or we draw more stuff if you want. Happy to do that too.
Well, maybe I'll put the first question. How would you visualize the victory?
See, that's one that is not that easy. I would try to draw what is it called in English? A bird? What's the bird? The white
pigeon?
A pigeon.
Okay. It's peace.
That's peace. That's right. Victory. Oh, this I would try. Victory.
Well, I know there might be an issue with the side. Which one is correct?
Okay. See. So
yeah, it's a tricky question. Maybe someone has another question in the chat. Please write or share here. Voice it here. Everyone,
I think actually the question that you raised is very valid, because what I would do is, in this case, I would kind of write it down, and then I would go to Google Images, and I would see what it gives me when I put in victory. And yeah, okay, I can share the screen actually. And sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes it's hard to visualize something, but this is what I get. So I get this one here.
Oh yeah, this one is good.
This one is good here, right? So actually doing something like this,
Yeah.
maybe what you could do is you could draw a hill and then put a person like this on top. So kind of like I made it kind of thing.
Anna is asking in the chat, how long you've been sketching, and did you start it on purpose, or it was something that just came naturally?
So how long? I think I liked drawing when I was a child, but I never, like, I just did it for fun. And then I actually like didn't do it for a while because I didn't have a reason and time to do it. And then I picked it up again in university because I was so bored and I wanted to learn as well. So it was easier for me, for example, also in school, actually, when I had to learn something by heart, it was easier for me to draw it because then I could not only remember the words, but also what I have drawn, and I could kind of memorize the picture. So for example, in a history class, I drew the history, right? Like the French Revolution, I kind of drew pictures about it. And that helped me then to remember the most important things, which is actually also proven that humans have an easier time to, of course, remember visual things. And especially when you combine the like text and visuals, it becomes even more powerful.
Right. So Lamia is asking, what tools do you recommend for drawing?
Yeah, so what I like to use is the iPad and the iPad Pen. I think not like iPad Air now works as well. iPad Pro is what I'm using, an older version of that. And then there's an app called Procreate, which you can see here. And it's like a drawing app. It's like, it can be similar to Paint, but you can also do very, very sophisticated things with it. You can see that you can't see the controls right now because it's in this presenting mode. So it even has a presenting mode. And you can, for example, have different layers. You can like drop things in here, like color drops, so very much like Paint. But it can do really, really nice things. The question that I get often a lot is how to do this, like especially if everyone is remote or on the laptop. And that is a little harder, I have to say. I didn't find a good solution or app yet to draw on a computer, other than maybe using like a thick gem or a Miro board or whatever else comes to your mind, to collaborate and brainstorm together. It's not perfect yet, but at least like when you start drawing on one of these boards, even if it's with a trackpad, which usually looks very crappy, people start doing the same thing, right? And it creates a fun atmosphere. But I think it's still better than just writing stuff down in a structured way in a document.
For sure, for sure. Thank you, Julia, very much. We got lots of comments in the chat that people thank you for the wonderful workshop. It was fantastic. And yeah, it was useful to understand the importance of sketching and how to capture big ideas and essential details. It was very useful. Thank you for the time. Thanks PMF again. Thanks everyone who joined us online and offline. Please follow our social media, Product Management Community Center. Please visit our and like join our next events, and hopefully we'll see Julia at PMF this year. Thank you
for having me. Have a good evening.
Yes, you too. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.